Yes, sir. A little bit of a different spot. Hopefully, everything is still everything. Grand rising to y'all. Grand rising to y'all. Who we already got in the building. Got Antonice in the building. As you are joining, please make sure that you like for the algorithm. As you can see, I'm away a little bit. I'm at a conference, so hopefully I can get the lighting right for y'all. We may be better off than we normally are. But let me hit the grand rising in the chat. Antonice is in the building. Please, once again, as you are joining, please make sure that you are sharing with your friends, with your group chat. That's going to help us get as many people in here as possible, engaging in these conversations. That's always our goal. That's the only way that we're going to grow. That's the only way that we're going to elevate, is to make sure that we get as many different perspectives in the room as possible, building with great intent. Y'all know what we're here to do, elevate on purpose. It is a Thursday, a little bit different. I couldn't do the show yesterday because of the conference that I'm at. So we kind of ran a little bit late. So it is what it is. We tapping in on a Thursday. Maybe that'll be the new move. Probably not until we go every day. Eventually, that's coming. Just so y'all know, eventually that's coming, but we'll be every day. So we're going to start off today. Matter of fact, what do we got today? What do we got on the schedule? Let me take a look at this schedule. We got Whoopi Goldberg going crazy, talking about trans sports. This thing, it's like, it's almost to the point. I think I'm at the point where I'm judging you if you watch The View. Like low key, I'm judging you. I'm trying not to. I probably won't, I'm judging you. I'm judging you. I was going to say I probably won't tell you, but nah, I'm at the point now where I'm judging you, because when you hear what Whoopi Goldberg said about women or men playing women's sports, it's insane. We got to talk about the Ukraine and Russia ceasefire, Trump negotiating. We got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. He was facing a lot of heat when Zelensky came to the Oval Office. He's been facing a lot of heat with the impact of these tariffs. Are they working? Did Canada just back down? Did Canada just apologize? We're going to talk about how sore loser culture is ruining our country. I put out a video on that maybe a couple days ago. I'm not sure if you guys got to tap in with that. We're going to talk about Angel Reese and when it comes to wanting to be paid more with the WNBA. And also, I started off saying sore loser culture is ruining our country. I may touch on how technology has also played a role in that as well. All right, let's get the first video. I think we got a couple icebreakers. Let's see what the icebreakers are for today. I think Ant sent a couple of these over. Hold on, do I not have them saved? One sec. I want to make sure these were some dope ones that Ant sent over. He sent over two. We'll definitely tap into one of them. Let me just get it pulled up so you guys can take a look at it. Okay, where? Oh, he texted to me. I'm over here like, yeah, why did I not see these? All right. Oh, so actually they're on X. My bad. That's why I wasn't seeing them. All right, so let me pull up these videos for y'all. Like I said, we got a couple icebreakers that we'll get into first, and then we'll get into the bulk of the show. We shall get into the bulk of the show. Why is this not popping up? All right, here we go. Make sure the screen shared. And yes, I will be on tomorrow. We got Steve. My fault. Let me start acknowledging people as they come in the room. Shout out to my brother Skeeg in the building. Shout out to big bro Steve North. Yeah, Steve, looks like I'll see you next week. Looks like I'll see you and Dr. King next week. I can't wait. It's been a while since I've seen Professor, and it'll be nice to meet you as well. Anthony's wrote, I thought I was tripping when I saw the notification. Nah. We logged in. We'll be on tomorrow too. I'm driving back to Miami tonight, it looks like. So we're just going to have to just roll with it. I don't know what time I'll get back, but we will definitely be on tomorrow morning. All right, so let me pull this video up for y'all. Let's get into the show, because I don't want to take up too much of the time going on these tangents and me BSing, because I'm not sure what time I got to log off. But let's take a look at this. Give me your thoughts.
Here's why the woke movement keeps shifting its goalposts. What we're seeing with today's social justice movement is exactly what the philosopher of totalitarianism, Hannah Arendt, warned about: a constant revolution with no end in sight. These movements, from feminism to gay rights, anti-racism, decolonization, and trans issues, mirror Arendt's observation that revolutions never settle, never declare victory, and never stop, because they're not actually about achieving equality under the law. It's about expanding their umbrella until all individuals become part of one mindless blob that operates with a single rigid ideology, making them easier to organize for political ends. As soon as one cause wins, they find the next group to rally behind to justify the movement's existence. This is why they dispensed with feminism for transgenderism, which is directly at odds with the other movement. Fringe groups are absorbed not to help them, but to keep the movement alive. There's no end because the goal is not actually justice. It's the complete centralization of power. Orwell nailed it when he said one does not establish a dictatorship to safeguard a revolution, one makes the revolution to establish the dictatorship. So don't expect woke ideology, which is now embedded in every Western institution under the guise of diversity, equity, and inclusion, to burn out on its own. This movement thrives on Orwellian doublespeak, where diversity really means conformity, Equity really means some animals are more equal than others, and inclusivity really means exclusion for those who oppose the revolution. The woke mind virus will continue.
I wanted to stop it real quick. I wanted to play as much as I can, but doesn't it seem like what it feels like is going on right now? Where it seems like you have these particular groups. And this is what I always think about when I say intelligent people that do things that don't make any sense. Also, you have certain groups that are pushing for certain things. Let's take feminism, as he was discussing. You have a group that goes so hard when it comes to feminism, women's rights. They attach the Me Too movement, all these different things that attribute and create this feminist agenda. I don't know what you guys throw in there. I throw a bunch of stuff in there. Then what do those same people go to? They go to something that is the opposite of creating opportunity for women in a lot of ways, which we're going to take a look at, with something like being okay with women or men playing sports in women's sports, with the LGBTQ, a lot of the things that they're pushing there. It almost seems like, you know, you have born men. Like, I'll take an example. I'll give you an example. I think on International Women's Day, I believe it was on International Women's Day on The View. That's the clip that we're going to take a look at and review. You have Dylan Mulvaney. Why would you have on International Women's Day a man that transitioned to become a woman? Like, why does it seem like these type of groups that are supposed to be pushing for opportunities for women constantly take the back seat to trans women? Like, I don't understand how the trans movement is so lock in step with the feminist movement. It's like, here you had an opportunity on International Women's Day on The View to actually bring an actual woman. Why bring a trans? It's not Trans Women Month, and I don't think, or International Trans Women Day. You know what I mean? Like that would be like the international or on the gay pride or whatever. Let's say they had a day instead of a month. You're celebrating people that are not gay. Doesn't make any sense to me, but it just seems like people are choosing different battles to fight, whether it's Black Lives Matter. Even a lot of this stuff we see is hustling backwards. You got the leaders of Black Lives Matter, and what are they putting all their money into? When you look at the documentary that uncovered it, it's all trans stuff. Now, I'm not saying that the Black community is against trans, but if it wasn't for Barack, let's be honest, a lot of these LGBTQ agendas would never have been a go within the Black community. It just wouldn't. Barack Obama was used, but like it's not about one particular agenda. It just seems like these people are just going against whatever conservative values are out there. They have a fight against whatever. That's just what it seems to be, to convince people that, I mean, whether you look at it, the Black Lives Matter, the feminist movement, LGBTQ, trans, it just seems to be the same thing reoccurring, but there's no like foundational principles. It's always moving the goalposts to the next thing that they're fighting for. I don't know if y'all are feeling that, but that's just what I see.
To ceaselessly steamroll society until everyone is absorbed or anyone who opposes it is socially exiled.
And yeah, I'm sorry, I just saw you right, Steve. This is a good way of looking at it. Problem, reaction, solution, right? It's very interesting how we're approaching stuff. You know, it's very interesting how we're approaching stuff. And I don't, you know, it goes to what the guy's saying in the video. Do they want a solution? You ever had, I saw something interesting where Trump, the lady that he hired as the head of the Board of Education, he was saying that I hope you do a good job and put yourself out of a job. And it was an interesting way to look at it, because for a lot of these jobs, especially in my opinion, when it comes to DEI, it's like you never want your job to be solved, or you never want to have the appearance that your job is solved, because then you'll be out of a job. And that's the case with a lot of people. You see a lot of like consultants or attorneys, people that get paid by the hour. They constantly kick the can down because they don't want the problem to be fixed. They just want little stuff to be done, just to the point where you have some type of belief in them that they're actually doing a good enough job for you to justify paying them. That's what it almost seems like with a lot of these movements. It's like, whoa, we can't just end this movement or solve this problem. What's going to be the next problem that we rally behind? So I don't know if y'all are seeing it. Like I said, this is just through my lens, but Maybe y'all have a different perspective.
This is why it is more necessary than ever for Western society to say enough with equality of outcomes and return to the values of equality under the law and meritocracy. If this ideology continues, Western civilization itself is at stake.
Cool little video. Cool little video. All right, so the next one I'm going to play, Ant sent over. The Irish, what is it, the president of Ireland? I'm not sure exactly what he's called. Let's see. The prime minister. Ireland's prime minister had some interesting things to say about Trump. We'll take a quick little look at that video. My man's getting bashed, so we're gonna show him some love. He's been getting bashed in the media, everything else, MSNBC, ABC, all these different platforms. And the last time we saw him bring in Zelensky into the Oval Office, obviously there was a lot of back and forth. But I think that Trump is getting the raw deal when it comes to him actually being the one that's pushing peace. I believe if a lot of other presidents, let's say Biden or Barack, were doing the things that Trump was doing, we would be looking at it through a totally different lens with a totally different perspective. It would be like, oh, he's doing these things to aggressively reach peace. Like he has to be aggressive because he's fighting for peace, like all these different things. But meanwhile, now it's, he has what I call the diplomatic exchange with Zelensky, and everybody's losing their ish, taking Zelensky's side as if y'all not Americans, as if y'all want y'all money to just keep being sent over to Ukraine, as if you want people in Ukraine and Russia to still be fighting and dying, as if we're not looking for a peaceful agreement, ceasefire first, which it seems like they agreed to. We'll talk a little bit about that later on. But now I guess they got the hard part to do, the actual agreement for a long-term solution. So shout out to Shy in the building. I see Shy just tapped in. Shout out to Ant in the building. Once again, this is Ant sent these over, so shout out to Ant for these. Let's look at this one.
And I thank you for your hospitality and the warmth of your reception. And I commend you in terms of the work that you're doing, particularly in terms of the pursuit of peace, which we discussed earlier. And I think that's going well. And you really have, in the first sort of 100 days of this government, you've done some extraordinary things very quickly. Everybody's watching in that respect. So.
Thank you.
Yo, man, Trump's the guy, bro. Trump's the guy, man. I'm glad to have some of these other European nations. Ireland's the EU, right? I'm glad that and talking about some new camera angle. Relax, baby. Just being I'm not at home. That's why I'm not at home. But yeah, I just wanted to play that clip. Ant wanted to share that with y'all just so y'all would show Trump a little love, give him a little grace, understand that even though a lot of leaders are coming out, maybe saying certain things that do not appreciate the things that Trump is doing, especially depending on what mainstream network that you're watching. Ant just really wanted me to show this to y'all, just to show that there are a lot of world leaders. I think Italy's prime minister or president, I'm not sure, I always get confused, as well as Ireland. They're showing Trump some love, man. They praising him. So now let's move on to one of the craziest conversations I've ever seen. This is what I mean when I say I'm judging you. If you watch The View, so who I'm really talking to, if your parents, I know a couple of my homies' parents, moms in particular, are watching The View. You may have to have a conversation with your mom after this. You may have to have a real conversation, because it is getting to the point where if you choose based on your own free will to watch The View, we got to start questioning some things, because we always say that we want different perspectives, right? We want different opinions. But at a certain point, when people are being just totally disingenuous and lying and saying absurd stuff, it just becomes super detrimental. But maybe there is still a use for it. I'm not saying that we should silence everybody, right? We push for free speech, but damn, we got to be selective with who we're deciding to hear from, in my opinion. But take a look at this video that Whoopi had a conversation with Michael I'm sorry, Michael Knowles put up a conversation with Whoopi and Dylan Mulvaney. So Dylan Mulvaney is the trans woman that I was referring to earlier. I believe she's the one that had like that big Pepsi commercial, but she's one of the most popular people in the trans community. I have no idea what Dylan's background is, but yeah, Dylan just became popular. And there was an interesting conversation around whether or not God makes mistakes. And Whoopi used this God doesn't make mistake motto or saying to justify Dylan Mulvaney and the trans community transitioning, which was kind of ironic. But let's get into the video. And then after that, I got an even crazier part of the conversation to share with y'all. That's the one that I really got the heat with. But let's take a look at this. Or maybe this is the one. I don't know. I don't know. All right. Let's take a look at this. You guys tell me what your thoughts are.
Is transgenderism is true. Men can be women. Men should be permitted to behave as women. Men should be permitted to undergo mutilations, to radically change their bodies, chemical procedures.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on. I'm sorry. There we go.
Been out of the news for a year or so. So he's got a book. We covered the book on the show a week or two ago, a little bit from the first part of it. Now he's doing the media tour. He goes on The View, and forget about Dylan Mulvaney, even forget about the transgenderism issue, which I'm sick of talking about. Just pay attention to how Whoopi Goldberg, a chief spokesman of the American left in pop culture, because she has the seat on The View for many years, notice how little she understands about the view that she is proposing.
I'm not sure what's going on or why this is an issue. The same for me as when people say, oh, you know, I don't know how I feel about you. You do. God doesn't make mistakes.
No.
And the challenge is not to the trans people, it's to the people who are not trans. That's what God is looking to see, how you treat people.
Yeah.
That's what is happening.
God does not make mistakes. So therefore, if you were born with a penis, chop it off and you're not playing God. God doesn't make it. Like, how does this even make sense, what she just said? It's getting to the point where it's hard for me to believe. And maybe this is just like that cult-like mentality. Matter of fact, it's not hard to believe. Because you know what ends up happening? We were talking about masterminds yesterday at this conference. Sorry, quick little tangent, but hopefully it'll all connect. We were talking about the power of masterminds at this conference that I'm at. And a mastermind is simply when a group of people get together with a common cause, looking for to work together to create or to come up with a solution to a problem, right? Group of people, 3 or more. And what ends up happening, I don't know how much y'all have tapped into the mastermind, like with Henry Ford and Napoleon Hill. He wrote a bunch of books on it. But when you have a power of a mastermind where 3 people, let's say, come together, the amount of, how can I put it? Like, they don't do the same work that the 3 would do together. They don't have, the work that the 3 would do as individuals. Let me say it as that. So let's say there's 3 people, me, 2 of y'all. We each individually try to solve a problem or do something on our own. And let's say we each produce a certain amount of work. Let's say 10. So we each put 10, 10, 10, that's 30. What happens when 3 people get together, you don't just produce the 10 plus the 10 plus the 10, it compounds. So with 3 people coming together, you're able to produce a higher multiple. You're able to produce, instead of 30, you're able to produce 50 or 60. You kind of get what I'm saying? So what happens with these cults or masterminds that may have a agenda of solving something that is insane or that is just super extreme, when you come together and you put yourself in this bubble, you have compounding growth in the wrong area, that I would say, or this compounded craziness, this compounded delusion, this compounded woke ideologies. It's like putting 3 people who are super woke in a room. They're going to produce even more than they would produce even by themselves. And this is the type of, I have to think, this is the type of like this is how a Whoopi Goldberg can get to the point where she's justifying a man cutting off his penis, a woman cutting off her boobs, a boy transitioning to become a little girl, and justifying it by saying that God does not make mistakes. Like this is cult-like thinking. And she's saying it on a mainstream television show in front of America. And there's a lot of sensible people, majority of women. There's a lot of sensible women, I have to believe, that watch this show and just fall victim to this manipulation, like, I don't know how somebody's mother could be watching this show and just accept what Whoopi just said and clap for it. You'll hear the audience and whatnot. When you say God does not make mistake and use that to justify something with transgenderism. But maybe I'm off. Let's keep going.
The argument is transgenderism is true. Men can be women. Men should be permitted to behave as women. Men should be permitted to undergo mutilations, to radically change their bodies, chemical procedures, psychiatric treatment, perhaps all the way down even to little children. They must be permitted to do that because God doesn't make mistakes. You can't. You catch the contradiction there? Listen, Johnny, you're a boy, you got all the boy parts and the boy DNA, and you've been Johnny your whole life. But now you say that you're Sally. And you say you were born in the wrong body, and your true identity doesn't match the body in which you, the true you, were born. And so you must undergo very expensive, very painful medical experiments to change your body to better align with your perceived understanding of yourself, because God doesn't make mistakes.
We'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. Let me catch up with some of the comments. Mama Lay wrote, hold on to the show again. When you have a wider audience, I'd like to have that clip. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Bez, shout out to Bez in the building. Men believe they are women. Men also believe they can have a conversation with God. Oh, how delusional the mind is. I don't connect the two. I actually look at it a bit differently, but I don't know so men believe they are women. Men also believe, can you have a conversation with your mom and your dad? You can have a conversation with your mom and your dad, right? You can have a conversation with your grandparents, right? So to me, having a conversation with God, I look at is having a conversation with your creator, unless you don't believe that that's your creator. Now, if you don't believe that God is the creator, then yeah, I don't think that you'd be able to have a conversation with God. But yeah, I guess to your point, whatever people believe, people will conceptualize, people will push. I don't know. Men believe that it's to me, when I think, and see, that's an interesting one. Bez brings up an interesting point. But to me, I just don't connect those. I'm trying to draw a connection to men believing they are women and men having a conversation with God. If you believe that you come from your creator, you should be able to have not only a conversation with your God, but you should also believe, in my opinion, that you are godly, that you are part of something that you come from. If you are birthed by a lion, then you have some type of lion in you. If you are birthed by somebody that is American, then you would say that you're American. So I don't know. Yeah, it's a strange world that we're living in. It's a strange world that we're living in. I don't know. I don't know if there's a solution. I don't know if we should just allow the Dylan Mulvaney's of the world to set precedent on how everybody else lives. I don't know if we should say that if you think you're a woman, I guess I would ask Bez, if you think that you're a woman, do you think that men should be playing in women's sports? I don't know. Let's take a look at this other video. I think a little bit more, but I'm not really sure I'm understanding your point, Bez. But please elaborate. Please elaborate on it a little bit. All right, so this is the next video that I want to show y'all with this same conversation. Take a look at this same conversation, and you tell me if you think that it's healthy to watch The View? Let me know. Hold on. Here we go.
Superstar for documenting her gender transition online. She also stood strong against the hateful backlash and boycott after her Bud Light branded post went viral. Now she's sharing her journey in a candid and witty new memoir called Paper Doll. Please welcome Dylan Mulvaney.
We're going to skip to the actual
To
part of the
compete.
conversation.
And last week, California Governor Gavin Newsom said that he thinks that trans athletes competing in girls' and women's sports was deeply unfair. Now, I want to hear what you think, because I'll tell you what I think,
Whoopi,
too. Yeah.
The last time I played a sport, I was 6 years old, and I was on a soccer team, but I assigned myself as the nurse. So I sat with the Band-Aids. And so, in the words of Wicked, I am not that girl. But a dear friend of mine, Skylar, he is a trans athlete. His handle's Pink Manta Ray. That's someone who I really look to for guidance. And I think that is what's tricky, is like, now stepping in this identity. I'm still like a baby trans. You know, I've only 3 years in. Tomorrow's my anniversary.
Your friend went Your friend went from female to male and is competing with other males.
Correct.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Her friend.
Yes.
Her friend
friend.
went from female to male and is competing with other
So
males.
Gavin
they-
doesn't have a problem.
So her friend went from female to male and now has to compete with men. I think her friend would be a great person to actually learn from, because I would be very interested in how she's adjusting to the competition where she was used to competing with women and now is competing with men. I would assume that that would be a pretty big adjustment, and that she would be able to acknowledge the fact that, there's some clear advantages that men have biologically that make it unfair for them to be playing now sports against women. And even in this conversation, pay attention, because I'm not even sure that Dylan Mulvaney actually agrees with Whoopi, but she kind of just plays it off. It seems like Whoopi just kind of takes the lead and starts running with this thing, and I'm not sure anybody else is running with it.
I'm with that.
I think part of the problem that the trans community is facing, and it's the same problem that women face, is if you don't know anything about our bodies, you don't know how it works. So when you come in and you say, oh, these are men,
competing
against women, you're assuming that the women are weak and just can't do anything except be here. Have you seen female athletes? They know what they're doing. So I'm not sure what's going on or why this is an issue. The same for me as when people say, oh, I don't know how I feel about you. You do. God doesn't make mistakes.
No.
So obviously we're going to get into the other part of that combo. But her
assuming that the women are weak and just can't do anything except be here. Have you seen female athletes? They know what they're doing.
Whoopi couldn't have played sports. Whoopi is justifying men playing in women's sports because she says that we shouldn't assume, or she says that the people that say that men shouldn't be playing in women's sports because we have an unfair advantage, we're bigger, faster, stronger, lung capacity, all these different things that men just have advantages in. Whoopi is trying to justify it by saying that, well, these women are serious. They're not just all soft and stuff. They're serious about their sport. Look, the fact that we got to even talk about this is pretty wild. But I mean, if that's the case, then tell Brittany Griner, tell Angel Reese, tell Caitlin Clark, all of them who are complaining. And this is the video that we're probably going to watch a little later with Angel Reese and a few of the other WNBA players complaining about the pay that they get. I heard something crazy talking about like somebody's getting paid like 70. Well, not that it's crazy, but I heard $70,000. Let's say it's $100,000. Let's say it's $150,000. Let's say the women are getting paid $200,000. If you want to get paid millions, then just go play in the NBA. according to Whoopi, these women are serious. So she's insinuating that the women should be able to go out there and compete against the men. So just go play in the NBA. You can get a big contract. You can play in the NFL. You can play wherever you want. You can play in a different league, but the league that you're playing in is not profitable. So therefore, if it's all the same when it comes to competing, men, women, just go play in the NBA and you'll get a big contract, right? So I don't know how all this works, man. I don't know why we are even still, like, I don't know how there are so many people that are still okay with this, that are still pushing this. I don't know why this is a hill that the Democrats are dying on. I believe like 80%, which is even crazy when you think about it, that 80% of Americans agree that men shouldn't be playing in women's sports. Like, what is the justification from the other 20%? That's what I would ask. All right, so before we move on from that, let me get to, I think Bez responded to, the conversation with God only goes on in one's head. I believe that that's the most important place for it to go on, right? When you have your conversation with God, when you guys are praying, when you guys are, I don't know, I guess it's different for different religions, but I think that's the most important conversation. Actually, it's funny. My buddy Bruce, one of my big bros down in Miami, he always says, and I'm not sure that I totally have always understood it, but he said the longest distance is from one ear to the other ear, the longest distance. And that's because you trying to, and I think I'm not sure exactly how he meant it, but how I took it was more focused around, like, the hardest person to convince yourself or convince is a lot of times ourselves. Like, we put a lot of ceilings on ourselves. Like, we try to, we get in the way of our own accomplishments. Like, that's the best conversation, in my opinion, that you need to have. When you can convince yourself, when you can find clarity within a conversation with yourself, then to me, that's the most valuable thing that we can find. So if the conversation with God is happening in one's head, I'm for it if it's helping you. So Mama Lay was referring to the one with Trump. Oh, I got you. Ant wrote, my conversation with God manifests in reality for me daily. Yeah, I'm the same, bro. I'm the same. Like, those conversations, they definitely help me find clarity. And a lot of times they manifest. So I'm with you. I think that, I mean, let me ask y'all this. Who better to have a conversation with? Who better to have a conversation with? A lot of times we say we have a conversation to get somebody else's opinion. And then if we don't like what they're saying, oh, they're not in the same position as me, or they're looking at it from a different perspective. They're this. All right, well, unpack that with yourself, man. Go and, do your meditation. Go unpack that with yourself. Have that convo that needs to be had. All right, so big bro Steve wrote, I'm thinking this narrative she's representing is just the Hegelian dialectic in action. And hopefully I pronounced Hegelian dialectic. I'm not familiar with that. Let me put that in my notes to look up later. Hegelian. Now that's what I'm supposed to be doing, challenging myself to learn new things. So Hegelian dialectic in action. Bez wrote, you can have a conversation with your parents and grandma. A conversation with God is talking to yourself, but believing it's God. It very well could be talking to yourself. I look at those conversations a little bit differently. I look at having conversations with my grandfather right now, who's passed away. Now, people can say that, you're just having a conversation with yourself. Yeah, I guess you're right in a lot of ways. But what I'm really having a conversation with is the perspective that my grandfather would have. The conversation that I have with my aunt, the conversation that I have with my nan, the conversation that I have with my grandma, the conversation that I have with a lot of people, the conversation that I have with my bro Hayes, my bro Mendez that passed away. Like, I have these conversations and I just speak to them. And I guess people can say that I'm having the conversation with myself, but what I'm really having the conversation with is the perspective. When I'm seeking advice in a situation, I have conversations with my dad at times, and my dad's still here, and I don't call him on the phone. Sometimes I'll just have a conversation. Sometimes I'll be having a conversation with my mother and think like, okay, I'm in this situation. let me play this conversation out, how it would go if I'm sitting down with my dad, how this would go if I'm sitting down with my mom or my grandparents. So I do that. So you may be 100% right when it comes to that, Bez. But maybe that's just the God within all of us, right? Maybe that's just the conversation. Maybe that's what the meditative spirit is us communicating with the God in all of us. So, and I'm sure everybody's going to see it a bit differently. So Steve wrote, you have a situation thesis that isn't working out perfectly. An opposing idea or force antithesis emerges, highlighting the flaws or limitations of the current situation. The solution synthesis blends the best parts of both, creating a new and improved reality. This cycle continues, driving progress and change through continuous refinement and adaptation. Wow. I love the breakdown. I love the breakdown. All right, so I'm gonna have to go back. I want to read it again, but I don't want to take too much time. I'm gonna read it for myself again. You have a situation that isn't working out perfectly. I'll read it to y'all. An opposing idea or force antithesis emerges, highlighting the flaws or limitations of the current situation. The solution synthesis blends the best parts of both, creating a new and improved reality. This cycle continues, driving progress and change through continuous refinement and adaptation. I really like that. Okay, that breaks it down for me. I'm gonna have to read it again afterwards to make sure that I'm fully getting the proper understanding, if there is a proper understanding, making sure that I'm getting that. So no, appreciate that. All right, so what do we got next on the agenda? What do we have next? All right, yeah, we definitely got to talk about this. Sore loser culture. And I think I have a video. I'm not even sure if I'm going to play the video. Let me look it up. Morning Joe, sore loser. All right. So there was a video that I came across, and it was matter of fact, hold on. Now I got to actually make sure that we have it, because now that I'm thinking about it, I really want y'all to see. And it was based on something that I think is ruining us more than ever. And I'm not sure if I'm going to get into the argument between feminism and masculinity when it comes to this conversation, but I just want to talk about as far as us being very emotional, sore losers. So let me find this video for you guys. I really want you guys to see this one, and then we'll get into the conversation as we move with that. And if I don't find the video, hold on 1 second. Sore loser, Morning Joe. Oh boy. Ruining. All right. Hold on. Y'all gonna have to give me a second on that one. Maybe we'll pivot, because I want to hold off that conversation until let me go a different way. My fault that I thought I had this thing queued up. My apologies. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. All right. We'll go to Angel Reese first. Then we'll go to Angel Reese and the conversation around the WNBA strike. Then we'll go to the conversation that I was just referring to. So that way I won't have y'all sitting here waiting. So take a look at this. Let me know your thoughts. Angel Reese and a lot of the WNBA players, they may be going on strike because they want to get paid more, even though apparently their league is losing in their best year, $40 million.
WNBA players' contracts after this year's seasons and what will happen there, especially with one of the most popular players in the league now threatening the possibility of a strike. There's talks towards a collective bargaining agreement happening now between the Players Association and the league.
And Steve, I understand what you're saying now. Like after reading it, sometimes when I'm reading it in real time, so Steve said that's how they're looking at the situation. So yeah, so take a look back at Steve's comment, and this is how, okay, now I get it. I didn't have a full understanding, but you're saying that's how others are looking at these type of situations. I totally understand what you're saying. Now. All right, let's get into this WNBA video.
And Chicago Sky forward Angel Reese says she wants in on those negotiations. Listen.
I gotta get in the meetings because I'm hearing like, yeah, they don't give us, if y'all don't give us what we want, like, we sit out.
Question is, of course, do other big name players want to join in on a possible strike? We've reached out to the league on this. No reply yet. Remember, the WNBA had a massive season last year, record setting for them, the most watched regular season in 24 years. Its biggest attendance total in 22 years. Merch sales up 600%. Steve Patterson is following this story for us. So where does this go here, right? This deal with the WNBA and the Players Association, I think, expires at the end of the summer, right? So this fall. What happens after that?
Well, they're going into negotiations to talk about that. And I think it's fair to say at this point that the players just want to be treated and paid like the international celebrities that many of them now are, right? And I think to see that, you have to imagine that the way we see the WNBA is different than how we saw it 5 years ago, 3 years ago, even 2 years ago. And all you have to do is look at this collective bargaining agreement that the players just opted out of, right? It was agreed upon in 2019. So it has things in it like when you fly to an away game, you can fly premium economy. You can stay in your own hotel room. We will pay you your full salary while you are on maternity leave. These are things that are very basic for, I think, any company at this point. But they were seen as a major victory back then. Now things are so much different. Just look at a player like Angel Reese, right? I think at this point, it is fair to say that she is a household name. She will make less than $75,000 on her current salary within the WNBA. So I think they just want to take it and put it more in line with what it is. She's been getting maligned a little bit on social media, I think, for people taking what she said out of context. Many people saying that she thought she needed to get paid as much as NBA players do. She said that is absolutely not true. There was a tweet where she said, quote, "I love how all y'all have selective hearing. I'm hearing that they don't want to give us what they want. We're sitting out." And that's the truth. I never said anything about the NBA. We are prepared to say at the negotiation table. We also reached out to the Players Association. They sent us a statement saying, quote, "Our members are passionate about the future of the league. We are proud to represent a group of united, dialed in, and pushing for a transformational deal that's fair."
Wait. I want us to go and look at the last sentence. I have absolutely no problem with anybody holding out, not working for whatever they feel that they're worth. I have absolutely no problem with this. And what I do believe is happening is a certain level of entitlement that now comes with the NBA subsidizing your league. So the WNBA is subsidized by the NBA. If they didn't get money from the NBA, then I don't think they'd be able to function, or at least the owners would have to just put up a lot of their own money, which may be an option. Because even as I'm listening to Angel Reese, or listening to the conversation that she was having and this gentleman that just spoke out, the WNBA is a losing business. Now, I don't know how all businesses work, but I would assume that if most businesses are not profitable, then you're not able to pay your employees. You're not able to pay your employees. Now, Angel could be arguing that, hey, well, we need some of the money that the owners are receiving. We need a percentage of that. I'm totally fine with all of that. I just think that this type of situation shows up in a lot of different ways, where when you give people certain things, then they have a certain level of self-value and self-worth that may be different from how you're looking at it. So what am I really saying? I don't know of too many people that are in too many businesses that would expect to be getting paid more, that would expect to be, and you know what, I'm actually I may be having a change of opinion on this, actually. I may be having a change of opinion on this. You know what? I think my opinion has shifted on this as I'm having the conversation with y'all right now. I think that since the owners and everybody else, y'all been trying to gas up a lot of, not to say gas up in a bad way, but shit, if Angel and Caitlin Clark and all them, if they, regardless of whether the league's losing money or not, if they understand, if they want to push for their value, if they want to push for their worth based on how they see it, then let the owners cover the loss. Let the owners cover the loss. And maybe I'm getting ready to do something that so if we can look at the owners covering the loss in this situation, I'm getting ready to relate this to tariffs. That's right. I don't know how this is going to connect, but I'm getting ready to do it. If Angel Reese if her team is losing money, a lot of people would say, well, she shouldn't be getting paid more if the team's losing money, because the outcome, that's a reflection of how, the money that's being made, the lack of profit is a reflection of the product. A lot of other people would say, no, let the team cover let the team cover the loss. So when it comes to tariffs and what Trump is doing, my guy Trump, right? When the company Walmart, when the company Target, when Hyundai or whatever company that's importing a lot of goods, when we're saying that this tariff, that when we charge these companies that are importing these products a tariff, it's going to make the price go up. Nah, let the company pay for it. Let the company cover the loss, right? But this is how my mind works. I'm so sorry. I connect I connect dots. Sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. But why do we look at it with the situation with, like, let's say Angel Reese? Because it could be very simple for me to say, Angel Reese, y'all aren't profitable. You're lucky that you're making anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't expect to make more, but out of that, but it's a little bit different in that situation, because they may not be profitable because they're paying players a certain salary. But people may say, well, you're not entitled to more. Y'all are a losing business. You're not entitled to more. You're lucky that the business is even being subsidized by the NBA. People will say that. But then when it comes to the tariffs, I'm looking at it like, well, we just assume that the people are going to have to absorb that cost rather than the actual companies absorbing the cost. So if the team can absorb the cost when it comes to Angel Reese and pay them more, and pay Caitlin Clark, pay them more, and absorb the cost, absorb the loss, then why are we looking at the tariffs as something that would be put on us rather than be put on the company? And the company, why don't we put pressure on them to absorb the cost? All right, so I just connected something that I don't feel strong on, but we'll keep going. We'll keep going.
The league, we are proud to represent a group of united, dialed in, and pushing for a transformational deal that's fair. We won't comment on individual statements right now. What they want is really simple, Hallie. They want, of course, a little bit higher pay. They want a softer salary cap, and they want benefits like things specifically dialed into childcare, which is very important when you're talking about a league like this. Hallie?
Are these asks in line with the reality of the money that the WNBA has at its disposal right now?
Well, I mean, you led with it, right? The league, again, it's so much different. When you have Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese transforming viewership and sales and people butts in the seats, frankly, the league is taking in much more money, about $200 million last year. Guess how much the players get? Less than 10%. In the NBA, of course, it makes significantly more money, like $10 billion. Those players get about 50% of that pie. That's not to mention, of course, the WNBA, much more popular. They just signed a new media rights deal too.
All right, so however you look at it, I actually have a new, I look at it a little differently now. I'm gonna be totally honest. Angel, go get your money. Caitlin, go get your money. Go get your money. Let the team pay for it. If the team doesn't want to pay for it, and I'm always for holding out. Because when you hold out, when you remove yourself from a situation, when you say, I want to be a free agent, test the market. The market's going to determine your value. The WNBA may say, you know what, y'all want to sit out unless y'all get more money? We're going to shut this whole thing down. You got to be willing to accept whatever comes with it. They may say, you know what, we'll do something like The Replaceables. Remember that movie with The Replaceables? We'll bring on some other women. Y'all ain't got to play. And with a lot of these agreements, what tends to happen, or I remember being in the league when one of them happened, and then in Canada in that league when one happened, everybody talks a good game until around that training camp comes and you start to bank on that money that you would typically be making at that time. And then the actual NFL and the CFL, they have their leverage because a lot of players are starting to, you know, they may not have the finances of an Angel Reese, and they're like, nah, we need to get this season going. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, negotiate. That's what life is all about. All right, so let me catch up with the comments, and then we'll move on to that video that I was looking for before that I found. Mama Lay wrote, within yourself is your direct line to your creator. I agree 100%. Hold on, did I miss Ant's comment? Yeah, Ant wrote, Bez, that's where faith happens. What I say isn't what I consider the conversation. The answers that manifest in actions and synchronicities that are outside of my control are God. I agree. And very well put. Love and marvel at the synchronicities. Why y'all got me saying these long, hard words? All right, thank you, Leslie. All right, I agree. Let the market determine what it will bear. That's how I am. Let the market determine it. Yo, put it out there. If you feel you're worth $1 billion, who am I to say otherwise? Let the market determine the value. All right, what if God is your inner voice? Trust your gut, trust your instincts. I believe that, Quiz. I really believe that. I believe that's what makes us spiritual beings. That's what makes us godly. That inner voice, that inner being. Matter of fact, could you imagine how much of an inner voice and how much more in tune we would be if we weren't eating fake food all the time, or this low quality food, processed, whatever you want to call it, if we were more into nature, if we didn't have these rubber soles on our shoes where we were able, and we weren't walking on concrete, but we were actually walking on the ground because we know we're electric beings and we get fueled by the sun. Like, could you imagine how much more in tune we would just feel to, maybe I guess the conversations would be a little bit different, or maybe we would feel differently about those conversations, because I feel like all of those things, that's God. But I don't know. It's to each their own. If it's one of those things like this, if you believe you can, or you believe you can't, you're right. So if you believe in that conversation being with God, if you believe that inner voice is God, if you believe that gut, if you believe that third eye is God, then I believe that's what will manifest in your life. If you don't believe it, then you probably won't have those things manifesting. I also agree, Leslie, the inner convo is the direct channel. Quiz, the inner voice, when you are in alignment, is God. He is part of you and you with him. The louder the voice, the closer you are to your you. I agree, bro. I agree. All right, let's get into this convo. I've been excited to have this convo with y'all. Hopefully this dude from this conference, my man Nate, he just texted me. We're going, good morning. We're kayaking, and I will be there by 9. They want me to go kayaking on some water where they said that they've seen an alligator in. I'm like, bruh, like, how does that even make sense? It is what it is. Whatever. I'll get there when I get there. You feel me? I may conveniently miss the kayaking. All right, so take a look at this video. Sore loser culture is destroying America. Sore loser syndrome. I'm telling you. And the reason why I said earlier, I struggle. Let's just watch the video. Let's watch the video. I don't want to go down that lane that I was getting ready to go down. I don't want to go down. Hold on. Let me keep it going.
You have people out there calling for recounts that are unsubstantiated based on no evidence. This was a legitimate election, and no one should question the fact that Donald Trump is the president-elect.
Hillary is on her sore loser tour, and now we have her going through recounts. You know what she needs to do? She needs to get over it. She lost. Yeah. Get out of the way and let Donald Trump be president.
Do you think the Democrats are sore losers? Yeah, I do.
The reality is they're a bunch of spoiled crybabies.
Newsflash for many of the partisan Democrats and those in the mainstream media who continue to try to delegitimize President-elect Trump's massive and historic win last month. The election's over. Hillary Clinton lost. You have to win 270 electoral votes to be elected president, and President-elect Trump actually got 306. This is all really just an effort to try to delegitimize the win.
The left's going to lie. The left's going to besmirch. They're going to go crazy.
Now.
They can't accept the election results, let alone the fact that he's actually going to solve problems.
They have to decide whether they're going to interfere with him finishing his business, interfere with the peaceful transfer of power to President-elect Trump and Vice President-elect Pence, or if they're going to be a bunch of crybabies and sore losers about an election that they can't turn around.
This is America. We live.
All right. So clearly you guys are seeing, and this is from 2016. So this is 2016 when Donald Trump won. Democrats were being called sore losers. Now, I have to acknowledge, and I think I said it the other day, that Hillary actually conceded the election the day after, And Barack Obama, he actually made a statement, I think even to the American people, where he was saying, and I think Hillary said this as well, that we have to, and they may actually talk about it here, where we have to give Donald Trump, a chance to, be president, give him a shot. Don't oppose just everything because it's Donald Trump. This is kind of what I was getting from the conversation, but you got to give him a shot. You got to give him a shot. Don't be a sore loser. Don't try to just burn the house down. Don't take your ball, leave the park with your basketball because you lost and now somebody else is playing. Don't be a sore loser. Why? Because we're all on the same team. So obviously in 2016, with Trump winning, the Democrats are being called sore losers. Then what happened in 2020? Well, we all know January 6th, we know Donald Trump still won't acknowledge or admit, or he does not believe that there was a free and fair election in 2020. He believes that he was cheated. Now, although I believe that there's some things that, like with the 50 CIA agents with the Hunter Biden laptop, I think that there were some things that were done that played a role and definitely could have impacted the election. You lost. It's still a loss. You know what I mean? Like, it's still a loss. So, it is what it is. You can come out of a game and really feel that you were cheated and really have been cheated, but you still lost. You know what I'm saying? So in 2020, a lot of people would say that the Republicans were being sore losers. A lot of people would say, case in point, January 6th. Okay, I don't want to get into all that. Now you fast forward to 2024. And hold on. You fast forward to 2024 and what happens? Now look at the Democrats. They are behaving like children throwing a temper tantrum. That's what is happening. And I can't just say that this is a Democratic issue, because I'll be totally honest. A part of me wanted to, like, when I'm processing all these things, I'm always looking at it like, why is this happening? Why are these people more likely to do this, or are they more likely to do this? In my mind, I'm not going to say immediately I went here, but I was thinking, I said, well, this is why, the Democratic Party, they're so emasculated. They got this strong feminine leadership. And then what happens with strong feminine leadership? They're more emotional beings. So therefore people are more emotional, and the sore loser syndrome is soaking in even more, rather than just the manly thing, which would be to just, you take your loss, you congratulate the other team and you keep it moving, or you compete within your team to see who's going to represent, the team as the captain. And as men, you put your differences to the side, you compete, and then boom, afterwards you shake hands, the better man won. Obviously, we can't say that, because the Republicans, they had their sore loser syndrome in 2020. So, and maybe this is a good example of, I know for me, I have to do a better job of, when certain situations happening, I instantly tag them with certain things. Like, I'll instantly say, oh, that's because of feminism, or that's because of the woke ideologies. And a lot of times I feel like it may be right. But still you should go through that process of processing it. Like, you should actually go through and just think on it. But when it comes to this, I don't care what side you're on. Democrats, Republicans, the fact that we are behaving and moving like sore losers, it's creating a super combative environment for us to have success. What did I say was a mastermind? Shouldn't our government work like a mastermind? Shouldn't our political leaders work like a mastermind? Shouldn't the Democrats be able to get into the room with the Republicans because they both have the same goal, and be able to come up with better solutions than the two of them would have came up with separately? Shouldn't we be able to count on our most trusted leaders to do so? Because right now, when you have this split, when you have the Democrats lose, and I got to focus on the Democrats just because, I played this video. I'm going to play more of it, but just because the Democrats lost. But some of the things that I want y'all to focus on, I think the video is almost over, but as you're listening to the end of it, is just, how does this work? How does this work on either side? Clearly, the Democrats are representing a significant portion of the population. Clearly, the Republicans are representing a large part of the population. If every time one wins, the other side just refuses to work with them, they're working against them. They're rooting for them to fail. So that way, 4 years later, or in the midterm elections or that it'll be beneficial for that particular party. People are prioritizing their party over prioritizing their country. These are politicians. They are supposed to prioritize America over prioritizing their party. There's a guy that Trump is going back and forth with. I think his name is Thomas Massey. I don't know anything about him. I believe that I heard somebody on the show I was watching yesterday say that Candace Owens is a big fan of him. Now, Donald Trump has a big issue with him because he won't just do what all the Republicans are doing. He won't just say, oh, no, the Republicans are moving this way, I'm moving that way. He prioritizes what he feels is best, what his values are based on the state that he represents. I believe he's in Kentucky. I believe that they were saying that he's in. I can respect that. I can respect that because when you have more of the mob mentality, the cult-like mentality that produces that video that we saw with Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Hakeem Jeffries saying the same exact speech, this like word for word. When you have that, that's a cult. That's not encouraging free thinking. That's not encouraging us to be able to work with the other side in order to produce results. That's not us calming down our side, who we know that we've used so much emotion and fear mongering and race baiting to rile them up in order to get them excited about voting. Now the job when you lose, I would think, is to calm them down and put them at ease and say, yo, I know what was said during the election, but this is how America's supposed to work. This is what makes America the greatest country in the world. We have this process to where there's a checks and balance system. We will work with the people across the aisle to come up with solutions that are best for all of America. That's what I think it should be. Now, maybe we can't trust them to do that. Maybe what I'm saying is totally far-fetched, but to me, it is sore loser mentality. And maybe this is why it's so important for people to play sports. Maybe this is why it's so important for people to compete in a young age or at a young age in whatever you're competing at, whether it's the chess club, whether it's competing with grades, and whatever it is. Maybe this is why, because you get to learn how to lose. Learning how to lose is extremely important. I would say I would love to ask like some real successful people which is more important, winning or learning how to win or learning how to lose. I don't know. I mean, I guess the learning how to win, obviously, but I would say that they would put it pretty high up there as far as learning how to lose. Those things can make you more of a winner, because when you learn how to lose, you're learning the lessons. You're learning how to still move in a positive direction, still how to work with teammates, still how to build, and still not just shut down when things get lost. I used to be that kid that just threw temper tantrums when I lost. I used to be that kid. Now, I would say that benefited me in some ways, but it hurt me in a lot of other ways. But let's continue with the video. These are just some things to watch or to think about while you're watching them. Hold on. Let me read Quee's comments. Prioritizing politics over progression. That's a fact, bro. We can't prioritize politics over progression. Ant wrote, learning how to lose taught me how to win and what to take from the loss. That's what I was trying to say, and I appreciate that, alley-oop. I didn't want to sound crazy saying it like, yo, learning how to lose is better than learning how to win. But you got what I was saying. That's where the lessons come from. Learning how to lose is the only thing that's going to allow you to win in challenging situations. Because obviously, the more you challenge yourself, you're going to come up with a situation where you're not always going to win. And losing highlights the areas that you need to improve in order to win, right? So focusing on understanding how to lose and how to get the most out of that loss is the only thing that's going to empower you to then have a bigger win. You get what I'm saying? I appreciate that. Learning how to lose, not being afraid of failure helps you win. That's a fact, Bubby Bub. Negro, you still throw tantrums when you lose. A lot of people would say that. I'm not totally opposed to that. I'm not totally disagreeing. Let's keep going with the video. See, you thought you were going to get something else from me.
Live in a democracy. Everybody, when they woke up in the morning, is registered to vote, could go choose. So how about respecting the majority that also live here, and their vote should count?
Brian, they're saying it's rigged. But they have absolutely no evidence that it's rigged.
I don't even think we should give him the time of day. Also, he's about to win. We know it's a matter of time, about to win Michigan officially. So that would put Donald Trump over the top with over 300 electoral votes. It was a blowout. It was a blowout. I just wonder what these Democrats are doing, trying to convince their electoral representatives not to vote the way the people want it.
There are 6 of them.
Now there's these states. Let's have a recount.
We believe in free speech. We believe in accepting winners and not being sore losers.
They have no actual proof of voter fraud or any wrongdoing, and both the White House and the Wisconsin Elections Commission have both said zero evidence whatsoever. Now, what happened to the peaceful transition of power and supporting the incoming administration?
You really, seriously?
You could tell it's old because you got more than Joe on here looking like this. This is 4 years ago. This is 2020.
You got to wonder how they can do that. That's 4 years ago. Republicans whining, calling Democrats.
So this video is 4 years ago, but the video of 4 years ago was talking about something 4 years ago. So it's just funny now to see. This is 2020 when the Democrats had the up. They were feeling good about themselves. Or this is 2021 with Biden. So it's I just wanted to play this video because it just shows it's the same thing from both sides. The more radical one gets, the more radical the other gets. The more one behaves like a child, the more the other behaves like a child.
Democrats sore losers, calling Hillary Clinton a sore loser. By the way, credit to CNN's K-File for putting together those montages. But I don't know if you remember this. And I know in the age of Trump, we have alternative realities and people don't even go back and look at videotape. But Hillary Clinton conceded the day after the election. She made a call to Donald Trump early that morning and conceded the day after the election. We can't even get any of those people you just saw to admit the reality that Donald Trump lost far worse than Hillary Clinton. Joe Biden won Pennsylvania by a much larger margin than Donald Trump 4 years ago. Won Michigan by a larger margin than Donald Trump did. Flipped Arizona by 100,000 votes. Flipped Georgia.
All right, y'all get the point of that. Y'all get the point of that. In the video, even the video that I played online, the one that I did, hold on. I didn't even play that video because I didn't think it was necessary. But for you guys, I wanted you guys to see the video that I had seen before I commented on it. But he's commenting on the Republicans being adults, and because this is when Morning Joe went on the liberal side. He used to be conservative. So, of course, he's touting his stance as far as being a Democrat. They won. The Republicans need to stop crying now that Biden won. 4 years later, what happens? It's the same exact playbook, right? In my Kamala voice, same old tired playbook. All right, that was terrible. Y'all get what I'm saying. But we as the people, we have to remind ourselves that we are the ones. The government only works when a government that's supposedly made for the people, by the people, or by the people, for the people, however you want to look at it. We are the only checks and balance system. Us being able to vote, that is the checks and balance system to checking these politicians when they prioritize their own self-interest over the interest of America. But we don't look at ourselves as the checks and balance system. We look at ourselves as the politicians, that we work for the politicians. The politicians work for us. We direct them. And it's been backwards for so long that now we're seeing a lot of these politics with these overblown egos to where they think that they're actually more important than the people. Some people may say that about Trump. Some people may say that about some of the Democrats. However you look at it, we have to understand that we are the only power that's going to check things from going off the rails. We are the ones. So when we get manipulated into getting overly emotional and being sore losers to the point where now we'll justify Democrats, their behavior when Trump's addressing Congress. Like when we'll justify that, when we're sitting there watching a meeting between Trump and Zelensky, and just because we hate Trump, now we're on the side of Zelensky, even though Trump is representing us and our interests as Americans. Like we have to figure out a way to remove that sore loser stench, this syndrome that we adopt on both sides. It's not what we learned growing up. It's not what we were taught with sports. It's not what we were taught. We were taught to be more diplomatic, to be more respectful when it comes to actual teams that we're playing against. Let's be clear. The Democrats and the Republicans, they are on the same team. We may look at it as if they're not. They are on the same team. There are two opposing groups within one team. We rely on both of them to work together. But we've been so manipulated, and it's in their best interest for them to see us as gangs, or for us to see us as members of this gang compared to that gang, as if they're not the same damn gang. They're the same thing. But we get so emotional with these things that come up that we allow ourselves to or we don't take more of a role to check certain things. Well, that's how things get out of hand. That's how you start going on TV and having to justify why men should be playing sports against women. That's how you got to go on TV and justify drag queens reading books to kids in schools. That's how you got everything across the board. It's all empty symbolism and manipulation that is used to push the interests of these politicians rather than the people. So I'm gonna leave it there. I gotta go a little early today, but I want to catch up with these comments real quick. I'm still laughing at Ant talking about Negro. You still unity is obviously of no importance to many bureaucrats on both sides of the aisle. That's a fact. Ant wrote, learning the difference between fear and danger was one of the greatest lessons in my life. This lesson came from losses and wins. This lesson teaches you fear isn't real. I see you, Maya. There we go. That radical swing back and forth, that pendulum always swings hard. It's like the seesaw, like every example that you get, you can't solve. Maybe this is what we're really saying. We try to solve the perception of one extreme with another. Maybe that's what's happening. I don't know. And to be totally honest and direct with y'all, it's hard for me to say that right now, and or maybe I should say it's easy to say that the Democrats are the more extreme ones based on the cultural things that I always talk about, the issues that I have with them and the culture that they're pushing. But in all actuality, maybe that's just the pendulum swinging too extreme on the Democrats. Maybe it'll swing too extreme on the Republicans, and maybe I'll have certain issues there. I already see certain areas that I may, the ones that I've been pretty expressive with, or honest with you guys, as far as the issues that I think when it comes to Trump with Gaza and how he looks at that region. I can anticipate me saying like, nah, that ain't it. That's too extreme. That's too this. So it goes, I don't know. We just got to smarten up. We got to smarten up, and we just got to remember that every vote we're checking these politicians, rather than getting manipulated and led and misled by the politicians. Let's look at it, flip the script, and check them. Let's check them based on them getting too extreme. So that way we get the best people with the best mindset working for actual real results in this mastermind that we call the government, rather than just extreme childish like behavior because you're arguing about these radical things that we shouldn't even be having to discuss on such a serious level. So that's what I'll leave y'all with. Let's do a quick 45 seconds very quickly. I got to get out of here because I'm going to be late. So 45 seconds, meditate, manifest, get your breath work in. Every breath out is negative energy. It's a release. Every breath in is positive energy. We're going to start 45 seconds. If you're in a safe place, close your eyes, starting now. All right, one more deep breath in, or deep breath out, I should say. Release. Inhaling all the positive. Y'all know what we're here to do. Elevate on purpose, both from an intentional standpoint, raising our standards to become the best leaders we can become and to accomplish those audacious goals that we should be setting for ourselves. Strength and honor, onward and upward. Get to that bag. It's Thursday. Every week we set out to make this our greatest week ever. The only way we're going to make sure that we're on par with that trajectory is to make sure that we're putting the right things in our bag along the way. And those are our focuses. What's in your bag is in your bag. What's in mine, the things that I focus on: peace, love, happiness, health, wealth, and everything we do. Integrity. Y'all like on the way out. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. I'm sorry I got to cut it short. Got to go. But love y'all. Appreciate y'all. And I'll see y'all tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Ew.